Hi, I'm Jeff Marsacci, estate planning attorney with offices in Raleigh and Asheville. And I often get the question of how exactly did I end up in estate planning? And I'm coming up on more than 18 years now that I've been working in this field. Well, it really came down to a family situation. Now, I knew I wanted to be an attorney. I knew I wanted to go to law school. But that summer between undergraduate and law school, my grandfather died. Now, my grandparents were very special people. Now, I know all grandparents are special, but these are the grandparents, my father's parents, who, when my mother died, they dropped everything, they moved in with us, they took care of us, they raised me and my sister, and yeah, they were very, very special people for being able to do that and for wanting to do that. So, when my grandfather died, I think my grandmother gave me one day, orientation day, and then started calling and asking me legal questions. Well, she was a proud grandmother. I guess she figured I'd walk through the front door and I'd have all this legal knowledge dumped into me, and I really wanted to do everything that I could do to help. There really wasn't a lot that I could do because I just didn't have the knowledge yet, and I really felt kind of helpless. But I kept looking into the things that she wanted me to look into. We talked quite a bit during law school, really that first year and a half while all of this stuff was going on. But she always had the same three things that she would tell me when we talked. She'd say, I don't understand why this is so expensive. I don't understand why this is taking so much time. I don't understand why this is so frustrating. I thought we did everything right by setting up wills. And as it turned out, it really didn't end up being the best thing to do. Now, as I'm running around and trying to find answers to questions so that she wouldn't get a bill from the attorney for handling things, I started to do my own research. And I started saying to myself, this can't have to happen every time someone dies. It can't have to be this way. And it turned out it didn't. So I finally went up to the library and I said, here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm trying to research. He said, look, I know exactly the book you need to get. We don't have it here. Go over to the Roosevelt Field Mall in the bookstore and pick up this book, The Living Trust by Henry W. Abts III. Now, this was 400 pages, very thick book, but, for a law student, that's kind of like light reading. So anyway, it only took me until I got into the first couple of chapters before I realized why this wasn't in the law library. You know how much money is made off that probate process every year? Well, at that point, it said 25 billion. It's probably closer to 50 billion or more. And most of it is going into the attorney's pockets for handling all of the paperwork around it. And it really isn't necessary. And so I looked and I said, you know what, this is something that my grandparents should have had. It would have made everything so much easier on my grandmother. It just would have happened so much easier, quicker, and cheaper. And so I determined at that point that I was going to make this a part of my practice, and I really took more classes on estate planning, and as it turned out, estate planning was the main part of my practice. Now, I kept trying to get my clients to go ahead and read this book, and they weren't into reading 400 pages of legal stuff like I was. So eventually I broke down and I wrote my own book and kept it nice and simple and covering the same four things that Henry did, but really it's about avoiding probate and making things easier on the family, because that's really what would have been better for my grandmother. Now, my grandmother has since passed on, but she had a living trust, and everything went very quickly. It was very easy to handle, and so it worked. It really did help out, and my aunt and my father were able to handle things very easily. Now, the book that I wrote is called The Anti-Probate Revolution. It is available on theestategeek.com. That's theestategeek.com. And this is actually something that we put in as required reading for anyone who gets an estate planning appointment with us. And once they read through the book, we understand they know what probate is, what it does, and see if avoiding it is an issue for them, if it's something that they want to accomplish. So, well, that's just the basics. This is why I do what I do. It all comes down to making sure that families don't have to go through what my grandmother went through. Thank you and have a great day.